There's something I hear people say about antinatalism, which I think is really misguided. And I hear critics of antinatalism say it. I see antinatalists themselves say it sometimes. And I even see some people leave antinatalism because of it. So what is it? So some people say that antinatalism is futile, or it's a lost cause. And they say this because they view antinatalism as essentially having the goal of bringing about extinction, whether that be human or otherwise. And they say this is just a completely implausible goal. You're never going to do this. The first thing that's being said is that antinatalism has a goal, which I don't think it does. I think antinatalism is just a philosophy, but antinatalists can be motivated by their philosophy to want to do good in the world by avoiding something they see as bad, i.e. sentient beings coming into existence. And another thing to say is that antinatalists that are motivated by antinatalism to want to do some good in the world, say by avoiding births or preventing births, can do so without any reference to extinction. You don't need to have extinction as some goal to actually do good in the world. The reduction of something bad is still good, even if it doesn't eliminate the badness. So people launching this criticism at antinatalists that are trying to do some good, saying, well, you're never going to bring about extinction, to me is just a complete non sequitur. It's not a point that's actually grasping the reality of what someone is trying to do. Just like if someone is against so many other bad things like poverty or murder or sexual abuse, you can reduce these things, and that is a good thing, without having ended all of it. Even if completely eliminating some bad thing like sexual abuse is just completely implausible and never going to happen, that doesn't mean that we as concerned people can make a concerted effort to try and avoid sexual abuse happening. Just like if an antinatalist, as a concerned person, sees sentient beings coming into existence as a bad thing, and avoiding it completely is, I agree, completely implausible, that doesn't mean that there can't be specific actions that an antinatalist can take that results in the avoidance of births that would have happened otherwise. I think we need to move away from this idolization or this fixation on extinction, because I see it as a complete distraction. If we're talking about antinatalism now, not necessarily as a philosophy, but as something that motivates people to try and create social change, extinction is a complete distraction. It may be the perfect thing that you think the world should look like, and I agree, a world with no sentient beings in it would be better than a world with sentient beings in it. We don't live in that world, and to get to that world, it either can't be done, or if you could do it, it would use highly unethical means. And so having this as a goal is, to my mind, something that takes us away from actually being grounded in reality. There are completely tangible good things that we can be doing. And before I note on those tangible things, I also want to say that I think we should be less puritanical in our approach. So I don't think that antinatalists just need to support strictly antinatalist causes. I think actually most of the good, or a lot of the good at least, that antinatalists can do is by aligning themselves in specific campaigns or actions with non-antinatalists, but people who are working on things that will reduce births, and work with them on those specific campaigns to avoid births. So this is not promoting antinatalism or anything like that, but it is doing something that isn't explicitly antinatalist that will avoid births happening, but it's motivated by antinatalism. But I don't think your antinatalism needs to be the forefront of what you're doing. Now, one way that antinatalists can very tangibly avoid pregnancies and, as a result, likely births is by donating to charities like Lafiya Nigeria, Family Empowerment Media, MSI Reproductive Choices. These are three specific organizations that are highly effective in what they do and have a bunch of research done on them. And by donating to them, you can avoid unintended pregnancies for pretty cheap. So I recently shared on my channel that Rethink Priorities did a cost effectiveness analysis on Lafiya Nigeria's work, and they found that for $23 you can avoid or avert an unintended pregnancy at the beginning of 2025, and they say that they expect that to fall to $12 by 2026. This is an incredibly cheap way, and there may even be other cheap ways that we'll find of avoiding unintended pregnancies and, as a result, births. Now, do we know exactly how many births those pregnancies, were they to have occurred, would have resulted in? No, we don't. But if someone finds a better and more cost-effective way of avoiding pregnancies on this scale that could have resulted in births, and very likely would have, please leave it in the comments, because I'm sure all of us would like to know. This stuff is not explicitly antinatalist. In fact, probably all of the people working on this stuff won't be antinatalists, and they would celebrate births, at least in some cases where it's intended, well planned, all of this sort of stuff. So they're not going to align with us ideologically, but you can align with people pragmatically on things that are actually going to do good in the world with no reference to extinction. Extinction is not coming up in their conversations. So there's ultimately two things that I want to say here. The first is that I want people who are criticizing antinatalism as being futile or a lost cause to have a mindset shift. You're looking at antinatalism wrong. If you're viewing antinatalism through the lens of the good it can do, you are holding it to a benchmark or a standard that it is never going to reach, because the things that you're pointing at as a lost cause or futile probably are, but those aren't the only things that antinatalism can inform. And you're actually kind of presenting a red herring as extinction being what antinatalism should be judged by. The second thing I want to say is for antinatalists themselves. There are plenty of things that antinatalists can do, and we are actually relatively well positioned to do them, because if antinatalists generally are not raising children, they're probably going to have more resources at their disposal than their peer who has created a child and is raising them to do good. There are already organizations out there, campaigns out there, structures out there that are doing work that aligns with antinatalism, and we can pragmatically align ourselves and our resources with those organizations and campaigns to avoid preventable births. Of course, antinatalists don't just want unintended pregnancies to be avoided, as someone who recently commented on my channel reminded me, but that misses the point. Obviously, in a perfect world, antinatalists would want to prevent or avoid all pregnancies and births via ethical means. But we don't live in a perfect world. We don't live in the world that is in our minds. We live in the world we live in now, and we have to be pragmatic about the good we can do. I do plan to make a future video about all of the ways, effective and less effective, that antinatalists can use their time and resources to try and do good in the world by promoting antinatalism, and also not promoting antinatalism but still having some sort of impact that is aligned with antinatalism. That will come out at some point in the future, but let me know in the comments, what are you doing to try and make the world a better place through the lens of antinatalism? Do you donate to any of the charities that I mentioned? Do you disagree with what I've said? Do you think we should try and focus on extinction? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.